Hi, my name's Isaac, and this is a 2019 Bullitt Mustang, and today I'm going to show it to you guys. The Bullitt holds a near and dear special place in my heart because a couple of years ago, for my college photography final, I actually got to go out to Washington, D.C. and photograph the original 1968 Bullitt. One of the biggest blessings I've ever had in my life. It's such a cool story. I'll tell you about it in the driving segment of this video, but let's get started. Before we begin, I want to thank Koch 33 Ford for allowing me to review this Bullitt. For all your Ford needs, you can visit Koch 33 right off of Route 33 in Easton, Pennsylvania, or at their website, koch33ford.net. Starting out up front on the Bullitt, you're going to get full LED headlights, functional hood vents, and I love this dark Highland green color on the Mustangs. I think it looks excellent. One of the really cool things is it's completely debadged on the front because in the 1968 film, the original car, they didn't actually have the licensing rights to Ford, so they actually debadged that car. So in homage, Ford, in the future, debadged their own car. Moving underneath the hood in this Bullitt, it is powered by a 5-liter V8 making 480 horsepower and 420 pound-feet of torque. That's paired to a 6-speed manual transmission. That is the only option that you can get on these Bullitts. I think that's another amazing homage to the original. Moving on to the profile of the Bullitt, it is such a sleek car. I think the new body style of the Mustangs are excellent, paired with this Bullitt design with these original Bullitt-inspired wheels. You also get Brembo brakes on this one, which is really cool. And then you do get a turn signal indicator on your mirror cap and keyless entry. So you tap that, it locks the car, put your hand behind it, that unlocks the car. Really love that feature. Also, another thing I love about this, it's got the sill-less windows, so there's no border around it, and then when you close it, it goes whoop. I feel like that mechanism would probably break really quickly, but I mean, cars have been doing this for a couple of years. They must have it down pat by now. It's just so cool. This whole car is so cool. Moving to the back of the Bullitt Mustang, as I mentioned before, you're going to get this Bullitt logo here in lieu of a GT or the Mustang logo. You'll also get a backup camera here and your parking sensors below that. We got to do the exhaust note. Legally, it is actually a federal offense if I didn't do an exhaust note for you guys. So here we go. Moving to the interior of this Bullitt Mustang, the first thing I want to mention is it has Recaro seats. They are so grippy. I've sat in a lot of cars, primarily trucks for this channel, but these seats are the grippiest. It feels like they're just hugging me tight, and they're very comfortable. They are a little low, but I mean, either way, they're very cool seats. Moving on to the steering wheel, you get the Bullitt logo again in the middle of the steering wheel instead of the traditional GT or the Mustang badge. You have all your steering wheel controls for your Bluetooth, your menu settings, your gauge cluster. The gauge cluster, in fact, is a full screen. There is no traditional dials in here. It is all screen, so you can get all your information from that. And then as you change your different sport modes, it's actually going to change how the gauge cluster looks, which is really cool as well. A lot of the performance cars nowadays are adopting that. Moving over here, you're going to have your sync infotainment system. I've mentioned in the past, it's very quick, it's very responsive. I really like it. And then below that, you're going to have all your buttons. I love this engine start stop button on here. I also love these dials, these flip dials to do your traction control, your steering wheel modes, and then your different sport modes. I think that is so cool. Really nice design. And I love this cue ball shifter right here. I think it's fantastic. That again pays homage to the original. It had a cue ball shifter, and I think that was Steve McQueen's personal choice to have it in there. So cool. I really like this. You have your traditional parking brake right here, obviously, because it is a stick car. You have a Bullitt badge up on the dash right there. Now, this does have bucket seats. They are so cramped back there. I would not try getting in there. I think that about wraps up the interior. I am here for the driving part. I think you guys probably are too, so let's do it. So when I was in college, I was reading an article about the Bullitt Mustang, and I kind of knew a little bit about it. I didn't know a ton about the history. I knew about the car chase and stuff, but I had read that it was coming to the Detroit Auto Show, and I was like, oh my goodness, that's great. I'm coming to the Detroit Auto Show, so this would be great. I'll get to see the car there, the original car, and then they were unveiling this one beside it. I'm like, that's such a cool thing. And so I went to the Detroit Auto Show, and the guy from the article, Sean, I was like, oh my goodness, that's the guy from the article. I went over and I talked to him. He was just standing there, and I said, hi, my name's Isaac, and stuff, and not like my intro. I wasn't like, hi, my name's Isaac, but I'm always embarrassed to introduce myself now because now I always think of my intro. But I talked to him and I was like, hey, I'm from Allentown, Pennsylvania. And he's like, you're from Allentown, Pennsylvania? That's funny because I actually keep the car in Allentown, Pennsylvania. And I was like, no way, that's insane. And he's like, yeah. And he said, next time I'm in Allentown, I'll let you get a little bit more up close and personal with it. And I was like, that's awesome. Thank you so much. I'd really appreciate that. So a couple weeks goes by and I'm in my digital photography class and my teacher's like, I want you to take photos of something you're really passionate about. And I said, I'm passionate about cars. And he said, no, more specific than that. I want a specific car. I said, have you ever seen the movie Bullitt? And he said, yes, I love the film Bullitt. Why? And I explained to him, you know, I'd known the owner and he said I could get a little more up more close and personal when he was back in Allentown. And so he's like, if you can get those shots, that would be amazing, Isaac. So I was like, okay, so this is gonna be my assignment. I was really excited. I was like, okay, this is what I'm gonna do. And you know, a couple weeks goes by and he didn't respond to me because Sean had given me his text and I'm like, oh man, you know, because when a girl doesn't text you back, there's a lot of fish in the sea. But when a guy with the Bullitt Mustang doesn't text you back, there's not a lot of Bullitt Mustangs. And so I waited and, you know, I was anxious, but I trusted God and I waited and God came through and he, you know, he messaged me back. He said, listen, I'm not going to be in Allentown, but I'm actually going to be at the National Mall. And if I promise, if you come out to the National Mall, I'll make it worth it. And I was like, okay. I said, Dad, I'm going to National Mall because this is my photography assignment. This is my final. I need to take these photos. I'm locked in for this. And so my dad's like, cool, I have some free hotel points. We'll go together. And I was like, great, awesome. So we made a road trip and we went out there and we took some photos at night. I'll throw the photos up here, some of the photos we took. And it was just so incredible. It was in this glass case on the National Mall. It was like the coolest thing. And so then Sean texted me and he said, hey, listen, I have a surprise for you. Can you get out here tomorrow morning? And I said, well, how early do you want me to be out? And he said, could you come out at like 5 or 6? And I said, oh, okay. So we got up at like 5:15 a.m., got out there by 6, and like nobody's out on the National Mall. I kind of figured that DC would be busier, but no, nobody's out there. And so we got to the main part of the National Mall where the Bullitt was, and there was 4 more cars out, like not encased next to the Bullitt, and this was the surprise. It was the first minivan ever created. It was Lee Iacocca's press car. Then it was the last Ford Model T they had ever made. I think it was like the 1 millionth or the 10 millionth. And then the Bullitt was in the middle. And then next to that was the last surviving vehicle from World War II. And then on the end was the Ferrari from Ferris Bueller's Day Off. But if you know anything about cars, that wasn't actually a Ferrari. It was like a kit car they made for Ferris Bueller's Day Off so they could destroy it. But they had 2, and so it was the surviving one from the movie Ferris Bueller's Day Off, which is so cool. What a blessing. And so I got out there, and I was like one of like 4 people to be able to take this photo uninterrupted with the Capitol building in the back. And it was just honestly one of the coolest things I've ever done. And you know, we did Cars and Coffee then, so after we got the photos done, they opened it up at about 7:30 a.m. for Cars and Coffee, and people brought their Bullitt replicas, and it was just such a neat opportunity. And it was so cool. And so that's my kind of personal history with the Bullitt, and you know, getting up close and personal, taking photos. I never actually got to sit in the original, unfortunately. You know, it was funny because my dream was to learn stick on the Bullitt Mustang. That was my dream. It had always been to learn stick on the Bullitt Mustang. And while I don't have a full grasp on stick just yet, as you can see, I'm getting pretty decent at it. And I just thought about this today is, yeah, I didn't get to learn stick on the original Bullitt Mustang, but I still got to drive the 2019 model, which is so cool. I'm so thankful to God for that. And it's such a neat story. Other than that, I mean, this does handle really well. It handles very nicely. You know, I don't do a lot of stick cars on this channel just because, you know, primarily I've always done trucks, and there's not a lot of stick trucks. So I guess I suppose I could do the Toyota Tacoma TRD Pro in stick. That would kind of be a fun experience. But yeah, I mean, this car handles great. It's such a perfect, like an anniversary car. It's so nice, and it's such an honor and a privilege to be able to get to drive this and open it up and stuff. Oh, it's so much fun! And that is my story with the original Bullitt Mustang. That's how I got to meet Sean, the former owner of it now. He sold it at a private auction for, I think, $4.7 million. So that wraps up the driving impressions and my story, guys. I hope you enjoyed. Let's wrap this video up. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really hope you liked the video. If you could leave a like, thumbs up, and subscribe, that would really help my channel. As I mentioned before, it's just such a blessing that I got to have that opportunity to take those photos, and now such a blessing that I have the opportunity to review this car. If you're new to this channel, hey, thank you, truck. we're gonna keep going. There's a big skid loader. I don't know if you can see it in the thing, or I don't know what that is. Some sort of construction equipment. If you're new to this channel, I'm a Christian and I really want to connect with my audience, so I felt like the best way I could do that was to pray for everybody. So if you have any prayer requests, feel free to leave that in the comment section below. And I just started reading Bible verses. I think this is a perfect summation of my story. I was anxious, I was nervous. Was I even gonna get the Bullitt to review or the Bullitt to take the photos of back a couple years ago for college? So my verse is Philippians 4:6, be anxious for nothing, but in prayer and supplication with thanksgiving, let your requests be known to God. And God heard my requests and he provided for that, and he provided for this, because initially they had sold the other one that they had at Koch, so I wasn't sure if I was gonna get the opportunity to review this before I went to college. But God worked it out. God's in control. Thank you guys so much for watching again. Take care, and I'll see you next time.